I hope things are all right for him internally.
Speaking on?
I mean, at the crib. Yeah, because in the statement they mentioned this.
Oh, you don't.
Could be a life sentence. The sex trafficking is 15 years minimum, and the transportation for prostitution purposes is 10 years minimum. So,
Sean Diddy Combs. Before we get into this tea, let's make one thing clear. What you about to hear is strictly for entertainment and educational vibes only. The word-for-word federal courtroom drama straight from the Sean Diddy Combs trial, as spilled by Inner City Press. The courtroom, thick with tension. Diddy posted up at the defense table, eyes glued to the floor like he was dodging every bit of that smoke. The trial was already a hot mess in public, but Chile, day 5, it blew the roof off. Nobody, and I mean nobody, saw 50 Cent coming. And baby, when he opened that mouth, phew. The second he strutted in, flashbulbs popped, the courtroom buzzed like a barber shop on Saturday, and Diddy? Man, his whole cool just melted. For over 10 years, 50 had been one of the only celebs bold enough to drag Diddy out loud. Now, baby, this wasn't just some Instagram-level trolling. Nah, 50 Cent pulled up in person, standing tall behind Cassie like a whole force of reckoning. And when he spoke, it wasn't for clout, it was straight-up truth-telling. What popped off next? Whew, it cracked Hollywood silence wide open. Celebrities started chirping, sealed files began creeping out, and Diddy's shiny empire, it started to crumble at the edges. This is the real tea from the moment 50 walked into that courtroom on day 5. Now, this day was supposed to be basic. Cassie was just coming back to the stand for a little crossfire. The defense was still trying to patch things up after that brutal footage, and Cassie's heart-wrenching testimony shook the room. Diddy rolled in with his legal crew, extra security in tow, trying to look unbothered. But that air, thick with something different, like everybody's spirit knew a storm was brewing. Then boom, the back doors swung open and in glided 50 Cent. Rockin' a slick gray suit and them dark shades, he walked in like a man with receipts. The whole room froze. Even the sound of shuffling papers just stopped. Cassie's lawyer whipped around, eyes wide. Diddy froze like a statue.
Diddy Combs walked into the courtroom yesterday wearing a sweater over a white-collared shirt and gray slacks. He hugged his attorneys when he got in.
For a split second, time hit pause. Nobody saw this coming, not like this. 50 had been loud on the gram for weeks, dropping cryptic gems, reposting old interviews, and throwing his signature shade. But this right here, this was war. This was personal, and he didn't have to say a single word. He just slid into a seat near the back, arms crossed, eyes locked straight on Diddy like he was peeping a ghost from the past. The prosecution started side-eyeing each other like, yo, this real? The defense? Straight up spiraling. One of Diddy's lawyers leaned in close, whispering something urgent, but Diddy wasn't even there mentally. His whole soul was fixated on 50, like he knew the walls were closing in. The judge clocked 50's entrance and gave the tiniest nod, then carried on like nothing happened.
On Friday, a surprising announcement came down. One of his defense attorneys suddenly quits the case. I'm Elizabeth Milner with Law and Crime. Now, this particular defense attorney's reason for quitting wasn't really a reason at all, making his departure a lot more puzzling.
But baby, the vibe had shifted. The air got heavier. Something was bubbling, and everybody felt it. Folks in the room swear Diddy's whole energy switched up right then and there. His jaw got tight, hands that were calm just minutes before, now twitching like they had something to confess. Diddy knew good and well. 50 Cent ain't pull up just to spectate. He came with a purpose. When the judge called lunch recess, baby, it was like TMZ meets Judgment Day. Reporters mobbed the courthouse steps, cameras clicking, mics pointed, everybody holding their breath. And then 50 spoke. I'm here because I've watched this industry protect the wrong folks for way too long, he said, cool but cuttin'. Cassie's brave for what she's doing, and she ain't alone no more. Not while I'm here. This wasn't no PR moment. Nah, 50 laid the whole thing bare. He said he'd been peeping Diddy's strange behavior for years, stuff that made his skin crawl, stuff folks used to laugh off, stuff he now recognized for what it really was. He said everybody knew something wasn't right, but stayed hush because Diddy had power. He could crush dreams with a phone call. And then the real bomb dropped. 50 confirmed he'd been helping Cassie's legal team behind the scenes the whole time. She had receipts, texts, timelines, even recordings. And thanks to 50's public stand, more witnesses started coming out the shadows. "I'm not scared anymore," Cassie said loud and clear, eyes locked on that jury like she dared them to look away. "Not when folks are finally listening." Then she took it there, sharing stories she'd once kept buried.
Me on that when you said, yeah, he looked like the gay homie. I didn't know what you were talking about. If you
No, I wouldn't go to. Do you think this might be too early?
One that had folks gasping? A trip to the Hamptons back in 2017. She said Diddy locked her in a guest house for 2 days just because she texted another artist. "He told me I embarrassed him in front of the industry," she said, voice steady. "He said I was his property." The defense jumped up with an objection. Judge shut it down. Cassie went on to expose the twisted playbook of Diddy's world. Where to stand, who she could speak to, when she could even leave a room. That wasn't no romance. That was control masked as love. And then came the moment that snatched the oxygen out the courtroom. She turned just a little toward the gallery, her stare fierce. "I know some of y'all in here saw what he did. I hope you speak on it too." In the silence that followed, someone in the back was breathing so hard you could hear it echo. It was Diddy, eyes locked on Cassie, flickering between shock and straight-up rage. One of his lawyers gently touched his shoulder, but he didn't even blink. 50 Cent sat like a statue, but that slow, knowing nod? Oh, everybody clocked it. Cassie's words hit different this time. Not just because of what she said, but because now she had backup, real backup, the kind that makes folks sit up and pay attention. With someone like 50 standing tall behind her, her testimony gained weight, and baby, that jury felt it. Observers in the courtroom noticed heads leaning in, pens moving faster. One juror even shook their head real slow while she spoke, like they was seeing the truth laid bare. This wasn't just Cassie versus Diddy no more. It was Cassie, 50 Cent, and a rising wave of public reckoning crashing dead into Diddy's gold-plated legacy. The defense? Fallen apart in real time, piece by piece, under the spotlight. After 50 made that grand entrance and Cassie came back stronger, Diddy's legal squad looked shook, scrambling, sweaty, and straight up rattled. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, let's talk about it. If you're feeling the vibe, hit that like button. And if you're new to the fam, make sure you smash that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're the first to know when we drop the latest and greatest. Thanks for tuning in.